Hi, I'm Dr. Dean St. Mart, formulator for Supplement Needs, and in this video we're going to talk about our non-stim pump product within our pre-series called Pre-Pump Plus. So what is Pre-Pump Plus? It's an 11 ingredient non-proprietary blend designed to facilitate vasodilation, so it's going to induce a better pump, and to increase hydration, which we also know is an important aspect when it comes to increasing blood volume to help deliver nutrients and therefore facilitate the pump. So within Pre-Pump Plus, I've chosen 6 main ingredients that aid in vasodilation, and that's contained within the vasodilation pump complex. Now, if you've ever experienced a very strong pump, it's more than likely that you've increased the nitric oxide content of your blood, so therefore you're facilitating the blood vessels opening up, which in turn then helps to deliver more nutrients whilst training, and that nutrients then feeds into enhanced recovery and obviously for enhancing muscle protein synthesis if it's carrying amino acids. So first off, within the vasodilation pump complex, we have 6 grams of L-citrulline. During the 90s, a fad started to become evident within bodybuilding and fitness, and that was to take arginine pre-workout in the hopes of increasing nitric oxide. However, arginine has very poor bioavailability when it's taken orally and it gets hydrolyzed in the stomach. So you have to critically think of another way to help stimulate and increase levels of arginine in the blood to drive further nitric oxide synthesis. Now that all starts with an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, so eNOS. And eNOS is what our body creates then to facilitate increasing nitric oxide and then furthermore vasodilation and opening of your blood vessels. So with L-citrulline, it's an amino acid, and we're going to use this in quite an intelligent way to help increase the amount of arginine being produced in the blood to help drive that eNOS production. L-citrulline, it's also an amino acid, so it's having very similar properties in terms of how arginine plays into the nitric oxide synthase pathway. Now, when you do generate vasodilation from L-citrulline and eNOS production, it can be quite short-lived in that we have free radicals in our blood that is constantly going to react with nitric oxide as a reactive species and degrade it. And you're probably familiar with another enzyme known as arginase, which breaks down the arginine content in your blood. So to offset this, I've included 200 milligrams of S-acetyl glutathione. Now, if you watched the liposomal glutathione video, you'll have seen that glutathione is the master antioxidant that's made in our body. But why would we include an antioxidant within a pump formula? Well, if we want to facilitate and maintain that prolonged pump, so elevated nitric oxide, we're going to have to look at preserving it and protecting it against free radical attack. S-acetyl glutathione is a highly bioavailable form of glutathione when it's taken orally, so it doesn't get broken down in the stomach, unlike reduced glutathione. So the acetyl group on a glutathione helps to facilitate it being transported to the intestine for absorption there, effectively raising glutathione levels in your blood and therefore protecting that nitric oxide from being broken down. So what you should notice is with Pump Plus is your pump will be quite prolonged post-workout due to this effect of the acetyl L-glutathione. Next up, we've got 3 trademark ingredients: nitrosamine, Vaso-6 and the Mento pump. These 3 have been specifically chosen again to further aid in vasodilation. So nitrosamine is a trademarked form of arginine, but it's attached to a silicate. So that silicon or silicate can play into cardiovascular health, but also it's providing more arginine in a stable form that doesn't get degraded or hydrolyzed to further increase the amount of nitric oxide being produced in your blood. Same for the concept why I chose acetyl L-glutathione. I've chosen Vaso 6, which is a component of green tea, and that again acts as an antioxidant within the blood, further delaying the breakdown of nitric oxide. So there can be two camps to this. So why would you want to take antioxidants within the peri-workout perimeter? Due to the hormetic effect of how our body adapts to stress, and obviously we need some level of free radical production when we're training. The Aumento Pump is a trademarked form of amentoflavone. Now the research to amentoflavone and Aumento Pump specifically is astounding when you look at it in detail. It helps to preserve strength, and it also acts as a PDE inhibitor, which is a phosphodiesterase inhibitor. If you're familiar with the likes of pharmaceutical medicines such as Viagra or Cialis, these compounds act as PDE5 inhibitors. So in other words, they stop the breakdown of the phosphodiesterase 5 enzyme, which helps to break down nitric oxide in our body. So by blocking that enzyme, we're helping to increase levels of nitric oxide and therefore increase in vasodilation. So the Aumento Pump acts as a very incredible PDE inhibitor within this blend, and furthermore to the rest of it, it does help to prolong that pump again post-workout. The final part of the vasodilation pump complex is pomegranate extract at 300 milligrams, and I've specifically chosen a 30% Puenic elegans compound extract. Now, pomegranate extract acts very similarly again to the concept of why I have Vaso 6 and the glutathione within the product. Just acting as a very rich source of polyphenols as well as antioxidants. So it's all just about preserving that nitric oxide component to our blood, which enhances that vasodilation long term. Next up within the product, we've got a hydration complex. So we first dealt with vasodilation and increased blood flow. Now what we're trying to do is increase blood volume so that we can actually carry more nutrients and again carry more components that play into hydration. So within the hydration complex, we've got 2 grams of betaine anhydrous, which is also known as trimethylglycine, and that acts as an osmolyte, so it helps to drive fluid into our cells, as well as having an important role within the methylation cycle, which I'll touch on in a moment. The other 2 components of the hydration complex are electrolytes. So we have 300 milligrams of sea salt, which is a rich source of sodium and chlorine, and the second component then is 500 milligrams of dipotassium phosphate. So if you've seen the Electrolyte Plus or Intracarb Plus formulas, you'll know that I'm a big fan of this form of potassium, mainly because it yields a high dose of potassium as well as yielding phosphate, which plays into ADP and ATP synthesis. The final part is a methylation dopamine complex, which helps to drive further focus and elevate mood prior to training. So unlike Focus Plus, this is a non-stim blend, so it does not have any stimulatory compounds within it, but I did want to have some aspect to this product that would help facilitate mood and to increase motivation to train. So we have 500 milligrams of phenylalanine, which is a precursor to dopamine. We have 400 micrograms of methylfolate, and we have 200 milligrams of S-adenosyl methionine, known as SAMe. The methylfolate and SAMe play a critical role in the transport and reuptake of neurotransmitters in our brain. So it's critical that we have balanced levels of methylfolate for methylation, as well as SAMe as a metal donor. Quite simply, all we're doing there is ensuring that the neurotransmitter transport is being kept sufficient. So we're keeping a nice steady stream of neurotransmitters across the synapse, and if they're not used, they get reuptaken back into the sending neuron. So you will find that your mood gets uplifted prior to training, and then obviously the phenylalanine playing into more dopamine, giving you that cognitive boost and motivation and drive to go and train. So as you can see, it's quite a complex formula, but on a base level, it acts in quite a simple method way. It helps to increase vasodilation, so you've increased blood flow. It helps to facilitate pump post-workout, so again we're having increased blood flow two of the areas that we've trained for further recovery. We have a hydration complex to aid again in nutrient delivery as well as blood volume increase. And then we have that methylation and dopamine support to help give you a further boost prior to training. So hopefully that's given you an insight to Pre-Pump Plus. I'm Dr. Liam St. Mart, formulator for supplement needs, and thank you for listening.